A big, bold, beautiful journey is a fairy tale for adults. There is no other way to describe it. After all, what is a fairy tale? A fairy tale is a short, traditional folkloric story that features magic, wonder, and often fantastical beings like fairies, dragons, or talking animals. Perhaps it would be better to watch this movie alone on your smartphone, as you would enjoy it the most when you watch it in the solitude without distractions. But if you do get excited after this review, do experiment with it in the theater. But you're on your own, let me warn you. As I was saying, a big, bold, beautiful journey follows a fairy tale template. David, played by Colin Farrell, is an adult single man with an Irish accent who is grieving his father's death. He's having his own issues and is thus still single. Sarah, played by Margot Robbie of the Barbie girl and the Wolf of Wall Street fame, is having her own commitment issues and has had a complex relationship with her mother who is no more. So basically, the movie is about these two adults, David and Sarah, who have their own sets of complex lives which are coming in their way of having rewarding relationships. How they're able to get over their past and craft a promising future for themselves is what the movie is all about. Except that the plot of how they go into their past and address the issues is what makes the movie unique and takes us into the world of fairy tales where no rules of the real world apply. Apart from the first and last few minutes of the movie, the entire scenario is sketched into a world where the real world just melts away in front of your eyes. So David walks into this strange car rental agency and hires a 1994 Saturn with a strange GPS box which guides him to various destinations on his road trip. Curiously enough, Sarah also drives an identical Saturn, presumably hired from the same car rental agency in a similar fashion. The way the car rental agency scene is shot starts taking the viewer down a rabbit hole, and you as well as the protagonists feel like Alice in Wonderland. And then the rabbit hole starts growing deeper. Sarah and David meet at a wedding where they exchange dialogues which keep you engaged. Sometimes I could get a feeling that I was predicting what they're going to speak, so the movie started connecting to me. Then they meet again at a fast food restaurant where I noticed one thing. There's a big open parking lot. David parks his car with trunk facing the wall, while Sarah parks a car with a hood facing the wall, perhaps to signify that they are quite the opposite personalities. It seems that the car rental agency is orchestrating everything, which reminded me of the Michael Douglas movie The Game. Since Sarah's car does not start, so David and Sarah get together and combine their road trip where the GPS takes them to various stops where they have doors which open into their past. And they confront the critical moments from their past which are used to ostensibly heal them. And this is the critical point of the movie because you start enjoying those moments of David staring from the lighthouse or Sarah mourning the death of her mother at her favorite museum, confessing that while her mother was dying, she was partying with her professor. Or David confronting his high school crush and playing in the musical play all over again with Sarah joining him as the crowds applaud. All this becomes fun for you as a viewer. There are heartfelt moments when David meets his own father at the time of his birth. There is even a good banter between David and Sarah as they move on in the car journey, making fun of their experiences. And you start settling into the movie, and then it starts becoming way too abstract and serious, with both the protagonists dealing with their exes in the past, and then finally they arrive at the final doors of their journey. While in all the other doors, they enter together and thus share their past with each other. The final doors are where they enter individually. And that is where I found that the movie became sort of boring and heavy for me as Sarah deals with her mother and David sort of becomes his own father and deals with his teen self. Finally, the journey ends, and the cars are returned to the strange mythical car rental agency, and David and Sarah come back into the real world. What happens to them after that journey is how the movie ends. But I will not give it away. You will have to watch it yourself to find that out. The movie is indeed heady and heavy and will require a lot of patience from you in terms of giving that latitude to the narration which just ignores all the rules of the real world. You have to just accept everything going on and focus on the core of the issue of dealing with the past lives of the protagonists. I also wonder, when men and women watch this movie, will the men associate themselves with David? And will the women associate themselves with Sarah? Or perhaps both will associate with David and secondarily with Sarah? It's a unique way of storytelling which I think has been attempted for the first time. Kudos to the director Kogonada and writer Seth Rice to that extent for the creativity. The best part is that it gives the magical convenience to the director to just about do anything to make the core issue go forward, detached from the constraints of the real world. As for example, in one scene, the car in which David and Sarah are going crashes. What I found funny there was that as they got out of the car and it catches fire, they're still talking to each other standing near the car. I was wondering why they're not running away for their dear lives as the car is about to explode, which indeed it does, but by that time, they're safely away and checking into a fairy tale hotel called the Timely Inn, where a mechanic tells them that he has repaired their blown away car. It kind of brings a smile on your face. You are so deep into the wonderland. If only the individual door scene could have been made more interesting, I would have loved the movie overall. But it is those scenes in the last 20 minutes or so which make the movie heavy and devoid of fun. Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie have acted well. As a man, I felt that Margot Robbie playing Sarah is a more complex and a more knotted character than Colin Farrell playing David. But Colin Farrell keeps giving you that kind of a feeling of a man with a deep, dark secret. The car rental agency folks played by Kevin Kline and Phoebe Waller-Bridge play their parts with a great impact. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is really funny and mysterious with her frequent use of the F word in a strange accent and shocks you when she looks shocked when David uses the F word, presumably thinking that it is okay to use it with her because she's using it so often. So a lot of quirky humor there and in the whole of the movie. Overall, it is a thought-provoking movie where you do think later about what just happened, as you think about the whole thing you just experienced and try to connect the dots. The movie is not for everybody. You have to be quite crazy about finding deeper meanings in the movies to be able to watch this one. Otherwise, you might even doze off towards the end unless you walk out. A real negative test would be if an insomniac watches this movie and falls asleep by the end. I was left wondering, if the gates to my past were to be opened up, what would my favorite gates for the time travel be? And that's where the movie becomes brilliant. It will lead to the opening up of separate gates for each viewer, each with a different story. So the movie's story ends up opening thousands and millions of stories in the world. Now that doesn't happen with other movies where there's a single story for all. Go watch the doors of a big, bold, beautiful journey to find out which doors you must open again in your own lives.